68 nuns climbed aboard a night train in 1895. By morning, everyone had vanished. The bell rings a second time, a new flash, moonlit rails cutting across empty prairie, steam swirling around a boxcar marked St. Dymphna's Asylum. Third ring. A lantern swings inside the car, lighting rows of tired faces in white habits. The youngest sister presses her palm to the glass. Someone outside slides a heavy bar across the door. Darkness again. Whisper in the void. They were called the O'Rourke Sisters. Folks said they brought miracles. Folks were wrong. Fourth ring. Ledger page slaps open. Names sit beside neat dollar signs. Ink bleeds in the shape of a gargoyle's grin. Fifth ring. Hands. Calm. Practiced. Tie blue ribbon around a wrist. The ribbon covers bruises the way snow covers graves. Sixth ring. A wooden crate rolls onto a ship deck stamped Omaha New Orleans Veracruz. Sea fog swallows the port. Seventh ring. Dusty archive shelves appear. One grey carton glows under a single bulb. Box 914. Tag reads, "Do not open before 2092. Final bell strike. A bright counter slams onto the screen. Nuns missing 068. The number blinks once, then stays. Silence stretches. Footsteps echo, growing faster, then cut off as if a door just slammed. How many secrets can fit inside one locked box? Stay and count with us. The counter flickers, ready to rise. Screen snaps to black, leaving only the faint ring of that first lonely bell humming in the dark like a warning you can't unhear. The year is 1895. A pale moon hangs over the Nebraska prairie, lighting up the empty land like a silver blanket. A steam train crawls across the fields, its smokestack coughing out black clouds that drift over the wheat. Farmers who live miles apart can still hear the engine's slow, steady chug. They pause at their fences and watch the glowing windows slide by, wondering why a train is running this late on a weekday night. Painted on the side of the rear boxcar is a fresh sign, St. Dymphna's Asylum, Lincoln outskirts. Inside that boxcar, 7 O'Rourke sisters ride with 60 young women who have just taken their first vows. The nuns are all Irish by birth or blood, their last names carved from the same county back home. Sister Mora, the eldest, holds a brass lantern that swings each time the wheels bump. The light shows faces that are more tired than afraid. Most of the novices still wear travel dust on their cheeks. Their habits are crisp but plain, the white parts already greying from coal soot. The train slows near a wooden platform that looks too small for so many passengers. A stone wall rises behind it, higher than any barn in the county. Iron letters on an arch shout the name of the asylum. A single oil lamp burns by the gate, the flame bent sideways by a cold wind. No townspeople wait to greet the travelers, only 2 silent porters in dark coats. One porter swings open the boxcar's side door, the other lowers a ramp made of oak planks. When the metal wheels grind to a stop, steam hisses around the car like a whisper. Sister Mora steps down first. She points the lantern toward the wall so the novices can see where they are going. The porter tips his hat, says nothing, and holds out his hand to steady each girl. They file off one by one, moving like schoolchildren who have practiced the drill. Their shoes tap on the ramp, then on the frosted platform. Every step sounds louder in the deep night, almost rude against the hush. Behind the wall, a faint bell rings twice. No one can tell if it is a welcome or a warning. Local farm families watch from safe distances. Some stand on hay wagons for a higher view, others crouch behind stone fences. They have heard rumors that St. Dymphna's is a strict place. You go there to become holy, people say, and you come out when the Mother Superior thinks God has sealed your soul like wax. Until tonight, the neighbors had never seen a full order arrive at once. They whisper among themselves as they count habits, 1, 2, 3, up to 67. Lantern light winks across the platform like fireflies. Then the gate creaks open. The porters lead the line of nuns inside, and the gate slams shut with a groan. The train does not leave right away. Instead, the engine idles, coughing steam into the sky. One farmer claims he sees 3 heavy crates slid from the boxcar into a side shed. Another insists he hears metal locks clicking. Across the fields, cows shift in their pens, sensing something off. Yet in the moment, nothing seems truly wrong, only secret. After a half hour, the engineer shouts, the whistle blows, and the train backs down the track the way it came. Its red tail lamp fades until it looks like a single ember in the dark. Inside the asylum's walls, the O'Rourke sisters guide the novices across a gravel yard. Gravel crunches underfoot like dry bones. Gas lamps line the walkway, but most are turned low to save fuel, casting long, shaky shadows. Ahead stands the main building, 3 stories of limestone, every window barred. The front doors are tall and arched. A stained glass pane shows St. Dymphna calming a girl who clutches her head in pain. The saint's face looks kind, but the iron hinges on the door look anything but. Mother Regina, the asylum's head, waits by the steps. She is slim, mid-40s, eyes sharp as sewing needles. Her habit is spotless, her silver cross shining under the lamplight. She greets Sister Mora with a thin smile, yet skips the usual hugs or kisses. Everything feels rehearsed, like actors in a traveling play. Mother Regina lifts her hand and snaps her fingers. 2 younger nuns appear with clipboards and ink pens. They line the novices in rows and begin roll call. Each girl states her new name and receives a small brass token with a number carved on one side and a tiny cross on the other. The tokens go into the pockets of their habits. "Do not lose these," one clipboard nun warns. "They open your chapel lockers and mark your progress." While the roll continues, Mother Regina walks down the line with a lantern of her own. She checks each girl's eyes, pressing her thumb under every chin. She asks 3 questions. Can you sew? Can you read Latin prayers? Can you keep silence? Most novices answer yes to 2 out of 3. Those who falter are told they will learn quickly. Mother Regina's tone is not cruel, only certain, as if mistakes are impossible under her rule. A dog barks somewhere beyond the courtyard, startling a few novices. Mother Regina frowns. "The grounds are safe," she says. "Fear is the devil's window. Close it." She turns to Sister Mora. "The girls will sleep in dormitory C. Edna will show them." Sister Edna, short and stern, motions for the line to follow. They move through the doors into a hall that smells of candle wax, coal smoke, and something faintly sour, like old tea leaves left in a pot too long. The dormitory holds rows of narrow iron beds. 1 thin blanket lies folded on each mattress. Above every pillow hangs a wooden crucifix. No personal items, no candles, no color. Sister Edna explains the rules. Lights out at 9, matins at 3 a.m., 1 hour of work duty before sunrise. Any talking after lights out earns a penance, kneeling on rice grains or washing floors with cold water. The novices nod, trying not to shiver in the draft that slips under the windows. As the girls unpack their few belongings, someone starts humming a lullaby in Gaelic. Another girl joins in, then another, until the dorm fills with gentle sound. The melody floats down the hall, up the stairwells, and out a half-open vent high on the outer wall. That is the song locals say they heard, soft, hopeful, almost like angels, but muffled by thick stone. Down the road, a farmer's wife standing on her porch catches the tune. She presses a hand to her chest and whispers a prayer, unsure if the song is a blessing or a plea. Back in dormitory C, Sister Edna claps twice. The humming stops. Lanterns are snuffed one by one. Darkness settles over the beds. Only the small window at the far end shows a slice of moonlight. Outside, the wind lifts dust from the courtyard and rattles the iron gate. The asylum's bell tower looms above, silent now but ready. Somewhere deep inside the building, gears wait to pull that heavy rope again. The night that began with steam and song fades into a silence even the brave find hard to enjoy. No novices speak, no sisters whisper. Each girl lies still, eyes open, wondering about the token in her pocket and the stone walls around her. No one guesses that the gate behind them has already been bolted for good, or that a ledger on Mother Regina's desk has space for 68 new names, all blank, all waiting. Bishop Ambrose Wallace liked to say that every stone in a church was a prayer turned solid. He shared that line at Sunday Mass, at town picnics, and even at the county fair when he blessed the pie-baking contest. Folks repeated it so often that the words felt older than the man himself. But there was one place where Bishop Wallace repeated the line most, the dusty study behind the big oak doors of St. Brigid's Rectory. That study smelled of candle wax and old ink, and its narrow windows looked straight toward the empty sky where a bishop dreamed of raising the tallest cathedral in eastern Nebraska. The dream had started simple. First came talk of a stone chapel, then a high bell tower, then a set of twin transepts, large enough to welcome every lost soul from here to Kansas. By the spring of 1896, the plan had grown so grand that townsfolk joked the bishop wanted to plant a second Rome on the prairie. Drawings pinned to his study wall showed layer upon layer of limestone, arches, flying buttresses, rose window circles, and most extravagant of all, rows of crouching gargoyles meant to watch over the plains like stone hawks. Ambrose Wallace was not rich, and his parish served mostly farmers who counted pennies twice before dropping them in the collection plate. So people wondered how he would find the money for even half his plan. Then, quietly, the funds began to appear. It started a month after the O'Rourke sisters and their novices moved into St. Dymphna's. Sister Eileen, a quiet woman who oversaw dormitory chores, vanished before dawn, roll call. Mother Regina told the community that Sister Eileen had been called to a contemplative retreat and would write letters when able. The same week, Bishop Wallace strolled into Farmers Merchants Bank with an envelope bulging thick. The teller reported the deposit at $100, all in fresh bills. The bishop wrote the slip in his neat hand and added the note, Cathedral Fund, Phase 1. A single deposit might have seemed like luck, a wealthy donor moved by faith, but the pattern proved tighter than that. 2 weeks after Sister Eileen's retreat, Sister Frances failed to appear for Vespers. Mother Regina explained she had accepted a post at an orphanage in Wyoming, too far away for easy letters. Locals muttered, but no one pressed. 3 days later, another $200, same crisp bills, landed in the bishop's account. He ordered stonemasons to carve a new C cornerstone and hired a wagon to haul limestone from the quarry. Town carpenters with sharp eyes began to notice. Abner Sloan, who ran the lumber yard, joked that the bishop had discovered a field of money trees. Abner told his wife, and his wife told the grocer, and soon half the county banked on theories. Some thought the bishop had received a hidden inheritance. Others, less kind, guessed he held winning railway stocks. Only the postmaster, Mr. Campbell, suspected something stranger. He handled every letter and telegram moving out of the area, and he had not seen a single large check addressed to the parish. Yet stone kept arriving, and the foundation of the new cathedral crept upward 1 row at a time. As spring slid into summer, the schedule locked in like clockwork. A nun from St. Dymphna's left for mission work. Town boards filled with polite flyers seeking donations for her travel. A sealed envelope of $1,200 appeared at the bank, marked Cathedral Fund, Phase 2, 3, 4. Mason teams hammered new gargoyles into place, each one squatting a little higher on wooden scaffolds. The workers didn't ask where the money came from. They liked being paid on time far better than they liked gossip. On payday Fridays, Bishop Wallace walked the build site, smoothing his hand over the limestone as if it were silk. Every new statue thrilled him. He insisted the gargoyles were guardians, carving the western wind into ugly shapes so that true evil would stay away. Yet more than one mason whispered that the statues looked too real, like they carried secrets behind their toothy grins. While the cathedral climbed, St. Dymphna's gates stayed closed. Farm boys delivering eggs said the nuns were rarely seen outside after sunset. Milkmen, who once chatted with Sister Francis at the back door, now found the dairy crate taken in before they arrived. At Sunday Mass, the pew once reserved for the O'Rourke sisters held only 3 faces instead of 7. Mother Regina claimed the others were busy training novices. She smiled, and the matter drifted away like dust. Sheriff Claiborne noticed the flyers most. Each time one nun vanished, the asylum pinned a fresh notice on the town board: "Pray for Sister so-and-so, traveling to serve the poor." Claiborne liked things tidy and in order. He fetched the old flyers off the board after their edges curled. He saved them in his desk, a nervous habit. By early August, he had 5 flyers side by side, each sun-bleached from weeks in the open. The ink looked ghostly, names fading as if the paper wanted them forgotten. Claiborne began marking the days on a calendar. Disappearance on Monday, deposit by Thursday, stones delivered next Monday. Neat and grim, like handwriting practice no one wished to master. Out at the quarry, a heavy-set driver named Lonnie asked the bishop a direct question. "Excellence, these loads cost a fortune. Where's it coming from?" Bishop Wallace answered with a gentle smile. "The Lord provides," he said. He pressed a silver coin into Lonnie's calloused palm. "And we are his grateful hands." Lonnie told the story that evening at the saloon. Men laughed, then fell quiet. A silver coin felt fine in the pocket, but scripture rarely paid rock freight. Inside the asylum, the pattern turned into a whisper game. The novices shared beds in long rows, and they spoke only after lights out when Sister Edna's footsteps passed by. They counted absences like missing beads on a rosary. First Sister Eileen, then Sister Francis. Next Sister Agatha, who taught bread baking and sang softly while kneading dough. Sister Agatha had kissed each novice goodnight, promising fresh loaves by morning. At dawn, her bed lay smooth and cold, the kitchen silent, ovens dark. The 3rd flyer followed that afternoon. 3 days later, the cathedral gained a new gargoyle, a crouched creature, its breadbasket arms and a snarling grin. Not every nun vanished quietly. Sister Patrick, tall and strong, ran the infirmary. One stormy night, she confronted Mother Regina about the missing sisters. Workers heard raised voices echo down the stone hallway. "Where are they, Mother? Tell me plain." No answer travelled back. Rain hammered the windows until morning light showed only Sister Patrick's habit folded on the infirmary door. Her silver cross, the one she wore even when bathing sick novices, lay on top like a seal. The garment was dusty, the cross smelled of peppermints she liked to sneak. No sign of the woman herself. The townspeople saw progress on the cathedral the next week, a fresh layer of stone at the base of the bell tower. Bishop Wallace praised the generosity of a silent donor. He told Mass that hidden gift-givers performed the greatest charity because they asked no thanks. After service, a farmer named Hank Gardner whispered to his wife, "Seems the more nuns who leave, the richer their silence gets." Children in Lincoln started a counting rhyme. 1 bell tolls for Sister Eileen, 2 for Francis, dressed in green, 3 for Agatha, baking late, 4 for Patrick at the gate. Teachers scolded them for mocking holy women, but kids passed the rhyme anyway, humming it while skipping rope. Even innocent voices noticed the pattern adults wished to ignore. Autumn rolled in with dust-colored leaves. Harvest kept farmers busy, so they missed small details. But the postmaster noticed one large detail. Every single envelope came from the same print shop in Omaha. Cream paper, same wax seal, same clean bills inside. He asked Bishop Wallace whether he should record the donor's name for the ledger. The bishop touched his shoulder and said, "Better not. Heaven sees, and heaven repays." The postmaster felt ice prickle down his spine. No one had mentioned heaven, yet the bishop spoke as if answering an accusate. Iron. At night, street lamps threw long shadows of the rising cathedral onto Main Street. The gargoyles reached the 2nd story now, rows of sharp wings and twisted faces. Old Mrs. Talbot swore one statue moved at dusk. Her grandson laughed, but even he refused to walk under the eaves where those stone eyes stared. Back at Sheriff Claiborne's office, the stack of flyers grew thicker. He tried matching each missing nun to the cathedral budget reports, but the math only scared him more. $12,200 times 7 would equal $8,400, enough to pay every mason's wage for a year. Yet the donations never paused. The sheriff wired the diocese in Omaha, asking if Bishop Wallace had registered a new bequest. The answer came back: no record of major gifts. Claiborne stared at the telegram until the candle burned low. He began to fear that the money wasn't a blessing at all, more like a bribe whispered through stone. Inside St. Dymphna's, the novices felt the tension. Sister Edna barked stricter orders. Silence hours doubled. Prayer knees bruised deeper. Some novices swore they heard quiet sobbing behind locked storeroom doors. Others smelled strong vinegar mixed with something sweeter, like whiskey gone sour. They wondered if the vinegar was for cleaning or for hiding worse scents. Mother Regina held weekly chapter meetings with the remaining O'Rourke sisters. She read letters supposedly from the missing nuns. Each letter used perfect penmanship, perfect grammar, perfect devotion, as if copied from the same template. The novices noticed the signatures all looked too alike. They were young, but not stupid. They whispered guesses. Sister Agatha never used such fancy loops. Sister Patrick said her hand shook too much to write that neat. Doubts grew like mold in damp corners. One Sunday before dawn, the asylum bell tolled again, just once, deep and lonely. Farmers counting sheep in dark barns froze at the sound. The bell had rung only at arrival night. Now it spoke again, shaking glass panes in kitchen windows. Within the asylum walls, a young novice named Bridget O'Rourke sat up in bed. She clutched her token, number 43, and tried not to cry. She had dreamed of the gargoyles bending down, whispering for her to climb the tower. On her bunk above, novice Kathleen murmured a prayer too fast to understand. That same week, Bishop Wallace ordered special stone delivered, lighter limestone quarried near the river. He told the masons it was for angel spires. Slender towers meant to rise above even the gargoyles and catch first dawn light, but the masons complained the lighter stone cracked easier. They needed twice as much to carve proper shapes, driving costs higher. Wallace smiled, saying funds were secure. He patted a leather ledger so thick the clasp barely closed. Lonnie the driver saw inside one of the new crates by accident. The lid slipped while unloading. He glimpsed a statue shaped like a kneeling nun, hands folded. It was life-size, face smooth except for hollow eyes. He slammed the lid shut and told no one, not until years later when guilt dragged the memory up like mud in a well. By early December, the cathedral's skeleton overshadowed the grain silos. Snow dusted the gargoyles, making their ridges whiter and their smiles sharper. Travelers stepped down from the train, stared and shivered. Some crossed themselves, others simply hurried away. Then, all at once, Bishop Wallace's miracle fund paused. No envelope arrived that week, nor the next. Work crews hung their hammers, waiting for pay that did not come. A rumor spread that the bishop had traveled west to secure a final gift. In truth, something inside St. Dymphna's had shifted. Novice Bridget vanished on a Tuesday night. She left behind only token 43 and a scrap of paper. Tell the bishop the numbers do not lie. Mother Regina found the note and burned it in the kitchen stove, but ash floated up the chimney and landed on window ledges, blackening the snow. The remaining novices watched the soot swirl. They felt the hush before a storm, the second where the wind holds its breath. Sheriff Claiborne received his answer when he stopped by the bank on Friday. The teller handed him a sealed envelope for cathedral business. Claiborne slid his pocket knife under the wax and pulled out exactly $1,200 in new bills, plus a card that read only, Miracle Fund, Final Stone. He pocketed the cash as evidence and rode straight to the rectory. But the bishop was gone, bed unmade, suitcase missing, desk drawers empty as winter fields. That night, the town board's last flyer tore itself loose in a sudden gust and blew down Main Street. Children chased it until it lodged under a frozen wagon wheel. The name on the page had faded so much that only the first letter showed. B. Some said it stood for Bridget. Others claimed it might as well stand for Bishop. Either way, the hush that followed felt like the prairie before a blizzard, cold, wide, and waiting to bury everything left in the open. Through it all, the counter we imagined on screen, a ghostly white number, kept ticking. 68, 1, 68, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and now 7. No voice had to spell it out. Anyone watching knew the pattern, felt the dread, and saw each new gargoyle as a receipt written in stone. The miracle fund looked less like a blessing and more like payment. Payment taken in silence, paid out in limestone, and balanced by lives that vanished without a single goodbye. Dr. Alphonse Whitlock stepped off the noon train wearing a long grey coat and a black doctor's bag that looked heavy enough to hold an entire toolbox. He had sharp cheekbones, slicked back hair, and eyes so pale they reminded people of skim ice on a winter pond. No one in Lincoln knew him, but the ticketmaster noticed one strange fact right away. His ticket came from Boston, stamped one way, no return. Word travels fast in a small town, and folks soon whispered the same sentence. That new doctor got kicked out back east. What they didn't know were the details. Whitlock had once been chief surgeon at a famous Boston hospital. He lost that post after nurses caught him running secret experiments on patients who couldn't speak for themselves. The Boston papers called his work unethical trials. The city health board called it worse and tore up his license. Now he walked the prairie streets like trouble wearing nice shoes. Whitlock arrived at St. Dymphna's Asylum after dark. Mother Regina herself opened the gate and led him through the courtyard. Novices working late in the laundry saw his tall shadow slide past the windows. They said he moved like a crane hunting frogs, quiet, quick, and sure of every step. One girl dropped her soap bar when she met his gaze through the glass. She swore his eyes looked right through the soap, the glass, and maybe right through her. Inside the office, Whitlock unpacked only 2 items, a silver fountain pen and a palm-sized black notebook with a brass clasp. He set the pen on Mother Regina's desk, then placed the notebook on top of a stack of papers. That notebook would become the most feared object in the entire asylum. The first page held a tidy chart of letters, numbers, and short notes. Whitlock wrote nothing longer than 3 words. Less ink, he liked to say, means less risk. At the top, he wrote the date in smooth script, October, R3, 1895. Under that, he listed his first entry, SO, $85, pine needle test. To anyone else, those scribbles meant nothing. Whitlock, however, had built a private code as clean as math. SO stood for Sister O'Rourke. Sometimes a single nun, sometimes any nun in the O'Rourke family line. $85 marked the payment he expected from Bishop Wallace's miracle fund for running the procedure. Pine needle test was Whitlock's casual nickname for an early form of lobotomy. Surgeons used a thin metal pick, no wider than a pine needle, to destroy nerves in the brain's frontal lobe. They claimed it calmed troubled minds. In truth, it robbed people of memory, willpower, and sometimes life. Whitlock flipped to the next blank page and wrote a new line, ready for his next patient, before he even unpacked his clothes. How the ledger worked. Whitlock's notebook was never more than half full because he tore out old sheets as soon as jobs finished. He burned those pages in the furnace, leaving only the fresh ones, live orders waiting for completion. Each entry followed the same pattern. Initials of the target, price to be billed, procedure code, small note on timing or risk. He didn't record feelings, prayers, or even names in full. He cared only about the job and the payout. When Sister Mora disappeared, Whitlock wrote, MO, $90, Compound C. Compound C meant he would test a new drug mixture on her, measuring how quickly it reached the brain. He timed everything with a brass pocket watch and recorded the minute when breathing slowed. Seconds after she died, he wrote the number of heartbeats since injection. That cold detail, no more, no less, was profit to him. Novices found pieces of burned paper in the ash pit behind the boiler house. On one scrap they could still read AP 75 spinal drain. Mother Regina told them the ash came from rubbish cleanup, nothing to fear. But the girls had read enough dime novels to know doctors used spinal taps on patients who never woke up. Whitlock's first test inside St. Dymphna's, the doctor chose his first subject 2 nights after arrival. He walked the dormitory aisle during evening inspection, pretending to check for fevers. Lantern light slid across rows of sleeping girls. Whitlock stopped at novice Katie O'Rourke, age 16, small for her age and often coughing after laundry duty. He touched her pulse lightly, then nodded. Katie opened her eyes, confused but too polite to question. Whitlock whispered that she should come to the infirmary for a free tonic and left without waiting for her answer. At dawn, Katie was gone. Her bed lay neat, blanket folded once across the pillow, token number 31 resting on top. Sister Edna told the dorm that Katie had been moved to an advanced silence retreat. No one would see her for 30 days. That afternoon, Bishop Wallace deposited another $1,200. Whitlock's ledger line for that date read KO, $85, pine needle test, complete. That single word, complete, meant the ledger would show no further trace of Katie. He tore the page, folded it twice, and placed it in an envelope marked with a single star. Mother Regina locked the envelope in her bottom desk drawer next to envelopes with matching stars. A lesson young viewers can spot. There was nothing scientific about Whitlock's prices. He didn't charge more because a case was harder or riskier. He charged whatever Bishop Wallace agreed to pay. A human life priced like eggs at market, $85 today, $90 tomorrow. Even a middle school kid can see the fraud. Medicine should heal, not stalk. Doctors should save, not trade. Whitlock always claimed the pine needle test was pain-free under a splash of alcohol and a prayer. But survivors from other hospitals told different stories. Blindness, seizures, screams that echoed down marble halls. In Boston, he had called those screams useful data. That phrase followed him like a stink. How the ledger reached the bishop. Every Friday, Whitlock sent a sealed report to Bishop Wallace. Inside lay 3 things: ledger sheet with coded entries, a tiny glass vial, shavings or drops from the latest test, proof the work was real, a bill for total charges, inked in perfect script. Wallace never argued. He took the envelope straight to the bank. 8 days later, the cathedral steeple gained new height, just as a new gargoyle crouched over the door. A novice sneaks a peek. Sometime that winter, novice Rose Hanley, the same laundry spy, managed to dust Whitlock's office. He stepped outside to take a message from Mother Regina, leaving his desk unlocked. Rose saw the black notebook sitting half out of a drawer. She opened it with trembling hands. Short lines jumped at her. SP, $75, compound CJO, $85, pine needle test VB, $80, optic nerve. Rose stuffed a blank scrap of linen into her pocket and copied as much as she dared. She didn't know every code, but she knew enough. Those initials matched missing sisters. The codes matched rumors of dreadful treatments. She tucked the linen deep in her sleeve and went back to dusting, heart hammering so loud she feared Whitlock could hear it through the walls. The pine needle story, told plain. Long ago, doctors didn't have today's rules. Some believed poking a thin spike into the brain could cure sadness or anger. They slid a pick between the eyeball and the skull, like sliding a pine needle into soft earth, then wiggled it to break nerves. It was quick, cheap, and left no outside scar, but many patients died or lost who they were. That is what Whitlock planned for any nun listed under pine needle test. To him it was cheaper than a full surgery and easier to hide. Kids can solve the math. Take the ledger line SO, $85. Now count how many names vanish from the dorm list, multiply by the fee. No secret code can hide that the doctor earned cash for every missing person. Even an 8th grader learns that when a chart's numbers go up while the human count goes down, something bad is happening. How Whitlock defended his notes. If anyone questioned Whitlock, he spoke in grand words. He said his ledger tracked research funding. He claimed each dollar bought medicine, bandages, books, but the novices saw no new supplies. They saw only new gargoyles. So his story curled up and died under simple daylight, like a worm on hot dust. Proof outside the walls. Sheriff Claiborne later compared bank slips with ledger copies Rose smuggled out. The cash always matched to the penny. Whenever Whitlock penciled $85, the cathedral fund swelled by that same sum, plus another $200 from the bishop. It was as if lives came in 2 prices, the doctor's fee and the bishop's miracle tax. Ledger line that broke the silence. One spring dawn, Rose found a fresh entry. BH, $90. Pine needle test. BH stood for Bridget Hanley, her own cousin. Bridget wasn't sick. She was full of jokes and plans. Rose realized no one was safe. The notebook didn't care if you coughed or sang or smiled. It cared only that your initials fit the next blank line. That single entry pushed Rose to smuggle the linen copy to Sheriff Claiborne. It would take months for help to come, but the ledger's secret ink was no longer secret. Every numbered soul would soon burn like letters in a signal fire, easy to see, hard to ignore. Why the ledger matters. Whitlock's black book proved the pattern behind the disappearances. It showed motive, money. It showed method, coded tests. It even showed timing. Each line matched the nuns' last nights on earth. For investigators, that notebook was a confession no judge could doubt. Then, if the pages used nothing but letters and numbers, for the town's kids, it was simpler. The grown-ups running the asylum had turned people into price tags. And once you see a price tag on a person, you can't unsee it. You have to act, or you're part of the sale. The night Rose delivered her linen copy to the sheriff, clouds hid the moon, and the gargoyles on the half-finished cathedral looked darker than ever. She imagined them smiling with new teeth each time a ledger line closed. But she told herself one thing: ledgers can be burned, statues can crack, and even ice-cold doctors can't outrun numbers shouted in the open. Her voice shook when she spoke, but she spoke anyway. Here's proof. No more hiding. And that single brave act began to loosen the brass clasp on Whitlock's secret notebook forever. Fiona and Fionnuala O'Rourke were born 2 minutes apart and seemed to breathe in perfect rhythm from the cradle. At 16, both girls entered St. Dymphna's as novices. They shared a bunk, a prayer book, and a tiny mirror taped to the dorm wall. The other novices joked that the twins could finish each other's prayers the way normal sisters finished sentences. One chilly March morning, the chapel filled with a sharp copper smell. During the final Amen, Fiona opened her hands and saw thin red lines across her palms. Fionnuala gasped because the same cuts bloomed on her hands too. Blood dripped between their fingers and left dots on the stone floor. Mother Regina hurried forward, pressed linen cloths against the wounds and whispered, "A holy sign." She sent the twins to the infirmary, but word raced through the halls faster than they could walk. By supper, every novice knew Fiona and Fionnuala bore stigmata, the wounds of Christ. News did not stay inside the walls. Farmer Boyd, who delivered eggs, told the postmaster told the barber. By noon, the barber's customers were hunting for clean shirts so they could visit the miracle nuns. Bishop Wallace caught the rumor and smelled opportunity like fresh ink on a check. He ordered handbills printed in bright red. Witness the blessed stigmata. Healing prayer service, Friday at dusk. Suggested donation, 25c. 25 cents was half a day's wage for some field hands, but the promise of healing pulled them in. On Friday, lanterns lit the asylum's long hallway. A makeshift stage stood before the chapel doors, draped in white sheets. Fiona and Fionnuala knelt on pillows while Sister Edna bandaged their hands in slow, careful circles so everyone could see fresh blood soaking through. A hush fell over the crowd. Bishop Wallace lifted his arms. "Faith as small as a mustard seed can move mountains," he said. "Tonight your pennies will build those mountains into towers that praise God." Coins rattled in the basket like hail on a barn roof. Each basket load went straight to Mother Regina's office, where Dr. Whitlock's black notebook rested ready for new numbers. The twins did not feel like wonders. After every show, they dipped their hands in salted water that burned worse than the cuts. Whitlock stood nearby with a timer, writing how long it took the bleeding to slow. He called the experiment capillary resilience. The girls called it torture. Visitors swore they felt warmer just standing near the twins. Some claimed their bad backs loosened, others said the toothaches faded. Mother Regina wrote glowing letters to the local paper. Soon travel wagons clogged the road, each painted with the same promise: see the sisters of suffering, give and be healed. Ticket prices crept upward, first 30 cents, then 50. The twins' fame rose with the cathedral walls. Every new wound meant another gargoyle carved, another limestone block lifted. Whitlock added fresh entries: FO, $65, blood assay, FO2, $65. Repeat. He never bothered to use full names. In his code, the sisters were lab work that walked and breathed. Spring storms rolled in. On the first night of April, a wind tore across the prairie, bending the half-built steeple until the bell rope slapped the tower like a whip. Rain hammered the roof so hard the novices thought the sky might cave in. Lightning flickered through dorm windows, making long shadows jump across the ceiling. Somewhere past midnight, the hallway lights went out. Sister Edna counted beds by candle and found 2 empty. The twins' pillows were cool. Their bandages sat folded on the table, bloody and fresh, as if removed only seconds earlier. A gust blew the candle out, and when she relit it, a message had appeared on the table in dull red letters. "The wounds are paid." No one admitted writing it. The blood matched the twins' type. Whitlock ordered the message scrubbed before dawn, but a faint stain lingered, shaped like 2 linked circles, the rings the girls planned to exchange if they ever took final vows. Morning broke grey and silent. The crowd arrived for another healing show and found the stage empty. Mother Regina announced that the Holy Sisters had received a higher calling and would tour distant missions. She promised new miracles soon. The crowd grumbled, but most dropped coins anyway, believing distance would make the magic stronger. Inside the asylum, panic churned like butter. Novices whispered that they saw muddy footprints near the back gate, 2 sets side by side leading into the woods. Others insisted they heard a wagon on the service road during the storm. Whitlock claimed he never left his office, yet droplets of rain spotted the cuffs of his coat. Sheriff Claiborne heard of the disappearance before lunch. He checked the town board and found fresh flyers already plastered up. Pray for Fiona Fionnuala, brave sisters spreading hope afar. No address, no city, no return date. The sheriff felt his stomach knot. He walked straight to the bank. The teller handed him an envelope thick and sealed in red wax shaped like a cross. $2,200 lay inside, identical to the earlier gifts, and a note, Angel Spire payment. At the cathedral site, masons unloaded an enormous stone angel with bleeding hands carved in its chest. They set it high above the entrance. Villagers stared at the streaks of red paint trailing from the angel's palms down to its sandals, too perfect to be random. Back in the dormitory, the novice counter rose again. On the chalkboard, a trembling hand erased Nuns missing 1768 and wrote, Nuns missing 1968. The number glowed like a hot brand even after the chalk dust settled. The Stigmata twins had been the asylum's brightest stars, their fame pulled in crowds, coins, and fresh praise. Yet that same spotlight marked them for Whitlock's darkest work. The lesson became plain to every sneaking novice and to any viewer watching the story unfold. The bigger the miracle, the quicker the disappearance. A week later, roses bloomed red around the base of the new statue, though the ground was still cold. Some called it another sign. Others said blood in soil feeds flowers well. Either way, the stone angel kept watch, its carved wounds forever open, while somewhere beyond the cornfields, two sisters, if they still breathed, counted miles, not miracles, in searching for safety. Rose Hanley stepped off the supply cart with nothing but a patched carpet bag and a letter that read, "Position, laundry helper, St. Dymphna's." Everyone assumed she was just another farm girl looking for steady pay. No one knew she carried a second note tucked inside her boot, this one from famous reporter Ada Graves. Ada was too well known to sneak back into the asylum. Pasting on a disguise would not fool Bishop Wallace or Dr. Whitlock a second time, so she trained Rose, her 16-year-old protégée, for 3 straight weeks. How to memorize rooms, how to copy ledgers in tiny print, how to smile and keep quiet when danger walked past. Ada called it reporting with your eyes. Back in laundry, Rose adds one last line to her notebook. 4 gargoyles now, 68 nuns total. If he finishes 6 more statues, no sisters left, must act before G7. She tucks the notes away, knowing the race against stone has begun. The chapter closes on the roofline. 4 hunched beasts glare at the moon, each paid for with silence, each waiting for number 5. The viewer can count statues, count dollars, count vanished voices, and see the deal in plain daylight. No algebra needed, just honest eyes. Sister Veronica O'Rourke was 42, small and fast with numbers. She worked in the dusty archive room behind the chapel, a place full of ledgers, donation lists and shipping slips. Her job was simple on paper: match every payment to a receipt, match every name to a page. But after the 4th gargoyle went up, the figures started to itch in her mind. She noticed first that the hush money envelopes always showed the same round sum, $1,200, and always arrived the night after a sister vanished. She wrote the dates in the margin of her own notebook, then counted backwards. The math was cruelly neat. 10 missing sisters, 1 envelope. 40 missing sisters, 4 stone beasts. The bishop's project looked holy on the outside, yet it balanced on lost lives like stones on bones. Late one Tuesday, she climbed the narrow stairs to the roof. The gargoyles crouched there, faces frozen in snarls. She pressed her palm against Gargoyle 4's foot and felt cold rock pass that chill into her skin. The number 40, scratched into the base, was clear as a tombstone. Veronica whispered a prayer, then hurried back down, heart thudding. That night she stayed in the archive long after curfew. By candlelight she opened Dr. Whitlock's shipping ledger, the one Sister Agatha always claimed was just for linens. Inside she found lines written in the doctor's shalom, ARP hand, Q31, subject SM, quieting complete, Q32, subject BD, pine needle test, Q33, subject TT, hydropulse observation. Every Q number matched one step toward the next gargoyle. The words were plain to anyone willing to look. The doctor was counting deaths as calmly as a baker counts rolls. Veronica understood she needed proof that could not be burned or denied. She crept to the binding shelf and lifted 3 blank hymn books. She slit their back seams with a letter opener, making narrow pockets. Then she slid 10 loose ledger pages, dates, treatments, payments, inside. For a marker she used Psalm 88, the darkest song in the book. Shall thy loving kindness be declared in the grave? It felt fitting. She stitched the spines closed with black thread, making the books look untouched, and shelved them among hundreds of others. No guard would spot a secret hidden in plain sight. Wind rattled the window. She knew she should stop, but fear drove her forward. At dawn, she had hidden 20 pages. Only 30 more sat on Whitlock's desk, but footsteps came down the corridor, soft, slippered, pacing. Veronica shoved the ledger shut, blew out her candle, and stepped into the hallway as if just leaving morning prayer. Bishop Wallace passed her without a glance, smelling of damp stone and brass polish. She felt his gaze brush her back like cold water, but she kept walking. Daylight brought chores, but the archive door was now locked with a fresh iron bar. Sister Veronica's hands shook while ladling soup. She realized the bishop knew a ledger page was missing. At supper, Rose Hanley, the laundry girl, slipped her a warning. They searched our room, looking for papers. Veronica nodded and murmured, "I put my trust one shelf higher than they can reach." Evening thunder rolled across the prairie. The novices sang softly in the corridors. Mother Regina ordered Sister Veronica to the hydrotherapy ward to inspect the record books, something she had never been asked to do. She bowed and obeyed. The ward smelled of wet iron and mint oil. Warm water hissed into a tiled tank the size of a grain trough. Dr. Whitlock waited beside it, sleeves rolled high. He spoke gently. "We must ease our loads, sister." She saw the syringe on the tray, the needle longer than her thumb. She backed away, but Sister Agatha blocked the door. Her voice trembled. "You shouldn't have touched the doctor's papers." Veronica clutched her rosary. "God counts every tear," she said. Whitlock answered, "And every experiment," then plunged the needle into her arm. The drug bit like ice, her legs folded. The doctor and Agatha lifted her by shoulders and ankles. Warm water lapped her skin as they lowered her into the tank. She tried to call Psalm 88, yet her jaw felt nailed shut. Water closed over her face. She kicked once, twice, but the drug stole her breath faster than the water did. Her final thought was relief that the evidence lay safe between hymn pages the doctor would never suspect. An hour later, an orderly found the body. Steam still rose from the tank. Bruises marbled her wrists where straps had held. Whitlock signed the register. Accidental drowning during therapeutic session. Sister Agatha wrote peaceful passing in the daily log. The count board in the chapel held changed numbers under Bishop Wallace's chalk. Nuns missing, 4068, leapt to 4168. Two novices watching gasped. They understood now that honesty brought danger faster than any storm. Before dawn, Rose slipped into the archive, heart pounding. The ledger was gone, but the hymnals remained. She pulled one, flipped to Psalm 88, and felt the crisp hidden page. Sister Veronica had won after all, truth wrapped in song. Rose kissed the book's spine and slid it back, ready for the day when the world would need its proof. Outside, masons hammered at scaffolds, shaping the clay model for Gargoyle 5. Each strike echoed like the beat of a heavy drum, counting time until the next sister's name would fade into silence. But somewhere within those shelves, Psalm 88 kept watch, promising that graves could still speak if someone dared open the book and read. The courthouse clock struck 12 when 4 sheriff's cars rolled towards St. Dymphna's. A long steam whistle from the rail yard covered their engines as they killed the headlights and coasted the last 50 yards. Riding with them were 2 Pinkerton men in dark coats. The detectives had come all the way from Chicago, carrying warrants stamped with a crimson seal and the words, "Search immediately. No delay." A soft rain began, turning dirt to sticky mud. Deputy Lewis checked his pocket watch. It read 12:04 a.m., exactly the time Rose Hanley had written in her secret note. "Move," Sheriff Claiborne whispered. 12 officers fanned out. Some aimed rifles at the front doors, others circled the high stone wall. Lightning flashed, showing the 4 gargoyles crouched on the roof like hungry crows. Inside, a single lantern burned at the main desk where Night Porter Massey dozed with his feet up. The Pinkertons pushed through the door first, badges flashing. Massey jolted awake, reached for the bell, but Deputy Lewis pinned his wrist. "County warrant," Lewis said. "Sit still and nobody gets hurt." The raiding party split. Sheriff Claiborne led half the men toward the medical wing. Detective Harper took the others to the dormitory. Boots thundered on the wooden floor. Somewhere in the upper hall, a novice screamed, then cut herself quiet, afraid. Medical wing, 12:07 a.m. Claiborne's team shoved open double doors and stepped into a room bright with gas lamps. 5 beds lined the wall, each holding a figure wrapped head to toe in white canvas. The canvas was a special straitjacket with straps that buckled in the back. What shocked the deputies wasn't the restraint itself, but the delicate blue ribbons tied around each wrist, like birthday bows. The closest nun blinked slowly, pupils wide and glassy. A wet cloth lay over her mouth. The faint smell of chloroform hung in the air. Claiborne lifted her arm. Under the ribbon, her skin showed no bruises, only a light red line. "They didn't want marks," he muttered. His deputy counted heartbeats, slow but steady. All 5 women were alive, just drugged deep. On the bedside table was a jar labeled soothing elixir, 1 O's doses. Detective Harper arrived and flicked his pocket knife through the seal. The liquid inside looked clear as rainwater but smelled sweet and sharp. "Ether mix," Harper guessed, "enough to keep a horse quiet." At the end of the row, a nun with grey streaks in her hair struggled against the canvas. Tears leaked out the corners of her eyes. She tried to speak, but her tongue felt heavy. Deputy Sanchez cut the straps. As soon as her hands were free, she pushed the ribbon off her wrist and whispered, "Psalm 88, hymn book, proof." Claiborne nodded. Rose's intel was checking out. Front hall, 12:15 a.m. Meanwhile, Detective Avery searched the record office. The ledger safe behind St. Lucy's painting stood open and empty. Picks lay on the floor. "Someone cleaned house in a hurry," Avery said. On the desk he found fresh wax drippings shaped like a broken cross, the seal from hush money letters. The last page of Whitlock's notebook sat torn in half. Only one line remained. Q41 payment cleared, G5 ready. Southgate, 12:18 a.m. A cold wind shoved rain sideways as 2 shadows slipped through the rear archway. One was Matron Mother Regina, her habit hem lifted to avoid the mud. The other was Sister Agatha, the bookkeeper, clutching a leather case. They carried no lantern. Lightning lit their path. Just beyond the gate waited a black wagon, reins in place, horse snorting steam. The Pinkerton posted outside fired a flare. Red light burst overhead. "Stop!" he yelled. The women froze, then darted. Sister Agatha's veil tore free, landing on the gravel like a shed snakeskin. The matron hesitated just long enough to look back at the towering chapel, at the gargoyles that her money had raised, then vanished into the dark. By the time deputies reached the lane, the wagon's wheels were a distant rattle. They gathered what was left: 2 veils, 1 torn strap, and a trail of coins that had spilled from Agatha's case, silver dollars glinting in the flare's dying glow. Back inside, 12:25 a.m. Rose Hanley met the sheriff in the corridor. Her dress was soaked, hair plastered to her forehead. "I told you about the ribbons," she said. Claiborne nodded, respect in his tired eyes. "Your notes saved 5 lives tonight." He led her to the counterboard by the chapel door. The chalk still read "Nuns missing 4168." Claiborne wiped the 41 clean and wrote 5 rescued underneath. But Rose shook her head. "They still count as missing," she said, "until they walk out of here free." She pointed to the ceiling where Gargoyle 5's clay model waited to be cast. "We stopped that one," she whispered, "but the others, evidence room, 12:30 a.m. Deputies boxed the drug vials, the ribbons, and the torn ledger scraps. Detective Harper placed the ribbons in a clear envelope, labeling it "No Bruise Restraints." He turned to Rose. "Why blue?" he asked. She answered plainly, "Because bruises are purple. Blue hides purple." Even an 8th grader could see the sick logic. Fancy ribbon covers, ugly truth. Closing images. 12:32 a.m. Rain slowed to a mist. The gargoyles dripped water from stone fangs. Siren lanterns glowed in every window now. 5 stretchers rolled toward waiting ambulances, each nun breathing shallow but alive. Their ribbons had been bagged as evidence. Wrists showed only thin red lines. On the gravel by the south gate, the 2 abandoned veils fluttered like empty cocoons. A deputy kicked one aside and found a single silver dollar beneath it, stamped 1901, new money for old silence. The camera would hold on that coin while distant thunder grumbled, and the counter in the corner of the frame would flip once more. Not down, but up. Nuns missing 68, 68. Nuns rescued 5. Viewers at home would feel the chill. 5 lives saved, yet the main number still screamed 68. The lesson was simple. Whistleblowers like Sister Veronica risk everything, and even a midnight raid can't rewrite years of vanished voices. But for the first time, dawn might break with truth on its side. The raid ended, but the real chase had only begun. 2 days later, a team of deputies and Pinkerton clerks set up folding tables inside the ruined record room. Soot coated every shelf. The main ledger lay half-burned on the floor, its edges curled like black petals. Still, the men kept digging, ash up to their elbows, because Rose swore more papers had to be here. Deputy Lewis sneezed, then dragged a dented file box from under a toppled cabinet. The label read, Freight, 1912-1913. When he popped the latch, a stack of neat envelopes slid out, still crisp under a layer of dust. Each envelope carried 3 words stamped in red ink: Omaha, New Orleans, Veracruz. A bold blue logo sat in the corner: Convalescent Villa Transport, special care for delicate travelers. Detective Harper's eyes went wide. Veracruz again, he said. Months ago, his office had cracked a case about a so-called finishing school on the Mexican coast, the place where nuns from another state had disappeared. Loyal viewers might remember that older video. 2 mummy-like women found at tea, journal entry. He comes tonight. Payment overdue. Harper now realized the asylum's paper trail matched the finishing school trail like 2 pieces of one map. He spread the invoices in date order. Each showed the same route: Omaha Rail Yard, cargo listed as medical supplies, handle with care; New Orleans Dock, transfer to steamship Maria Celeste; Port of Veracruz, final destination Villa Santa Cruz, Convalescent Villa. Next to every shipment was a weight scribble, usually around 120 poundlums, close to the size of a small adult. Under description, Whitlock had written harmless phrases: silk gowns, orthopedic frames, cold bath pump parts. But Rose, looking over Harper's shoulder, knew those codes. Gowns meant novices, frames meant straitjackets, pumps meant the steel tubs used for hydrotherapy. The biggest envelope in the box held a typed contract. It was signed by Matilda Regina, matron on one line, and Dr. Luis Delgado, villa director on the other. The contract promised fresh convalescents every 2 months at $1,500 per head, plus shipping costs. A claw-mark signature at the bottom read, AWW, Bishop Ambrose Wallace. That proved the churchman wasn't just taking hush money, he was an equal partner in the trafficking ring. Deputy Sanchez flipped the contract over. On the back, someone had scrawled calculations in pencil: 68. Sisters total: 5 rescued, Chapter 63 eligible for transfer, 63 $1,500 equals $94,500. He whistled low. They were planning to ship the whole house south. Harper gathered the invoices into 3 piles: complete, part burned, and charred scraps. Even the damaged sheets showed enough letters, dates, codes, signatures to be used in court. This box alone nails them, he said, but I bet more crates left the basement before we hit the place. Rose pointed to a small line on one invoice. Cargo insured by Gulf Rail Mutual, policy number 3167. Insurance meant paperwork, copies stored elsewhere. The trail was wider than one asylum. It stretched along every mile of track from Nebraska cornfields to the Gulf of Mexico. Detective Harper wrote the route on the chalkboard so even the youngest deputy could picture it. Corn Belt, Mississippi River, Gulf Port, Open Sea Villa. He circled Veracruz 3 times. "Remember the finishing school clip?" he asked. "Same port, same shell company, same blue logo. Our stories just clicked together like puzzle teeth." Rose felt both sick and proud. Proud the clues she and Sister Veronica risked their lives to collect were strong enough to cross state lines. Sick because the numbers kept growing past her head. She imagined the straight-jacketed sisters being slid into dusty freight cars, a tag reading silk gowns pinned to each, then boarded onto ships under moonlight. No hymns, no prayers, just wheels, water, and waves. Deputy Lewis carried the file box outside and set it in the evidence wagon. Rain had washed the gravel clean, but 2 torn veils still lay near the gate, untouched since the escape. He scooped them into a linen sack labeled "flight items." Even bits of cloth told part of the truth. Inside, Harper zipped photo envelopes for the press. Kids who watched the channel later would see side-by-side images, a gargoyle's grin, the ledger's burn line, the invoice's red stamp. Simple cause and effect. People vanish, money moves, monsters rise, papers travel south. Before sealing the room, Rose tucked one invoice copy into her notebook. Psalm 88 hid ledgers, but this slip would ride in her coat pocket. She wanted a piece of proof close to her heart, insurance in case any more pages went up in smoke. Sheriff Claiborne addressed the team. "Next stop, New Orleans Customs Office. After that, Veracruz." He looked at Rose. "You coming?" She nodded. "Someone has to show where the ribbons fit in." As dawn's first light leaked through cracked windows, the counter on the boarding house wall blinked in Rose's mind. Missing sisters, 63, shipped south. The numbers were still climbing, but now the trail was clear and the hunters were on the move. Viewers would understand. Evil rarely stays in one place. It rides the rails and sails the seas, unless brave hands pull the records from the fire and follow the path all the way to the last stop. The story jumps to right now. A wide camera sweeps over the Nebraska State Archives, a square brick building that smells like floor wax and old paper. In the basement, a steel shelf holds one battered grey carton. A red tag dangles from the handle. Box 914, St. Dymphna case files, sealed by court order, do not open before 2092. No one inside the archive is allowed to peek, not even the head librarian. A laminated card taped to the lid lists what rests inside: ledger fragments, blue wrist ribbons, 2 torn veils, freight invoices, and Rose Hanley's hidden hymn book. But the box stays locked behind twin padlocks. 68 names are trapped in there like voices under glass, waiting for a century to pass before anyone can hear them again. Cut to the old railroad spur where the nuns first arrived. Time turned the track to rust and the wooden ties to dust. The county paved a narrow bike trail along the path, painting cheerful white lines and posting mile markers every quarter mile. Locals ride at sunrise for exercise and at sunset to watch deer in tall grass, yet riders who dare to pedal after dark tell the same spooky tale. Fog drifts in off the Platte River, swirling around their tires. The air smells of wet iron. Suddenly, a faint bell clangs, one lonely strike, echoing down the empty trail. Some riders say they feel a cold hand brush their sleeve, as if a passing figure in a long habit just missed them. Others swear they hear soft Latin words, the same hymn Sister Veronica whispered while hiding those fatal pages. "Shall thy loving kindness be declared in the grave?" Streetlights end. At mile marker 3, so the final stretch lies in blackness. Shadows of old telegraph poles reach across the asphalt like prison bars. More than one biker has skidded to a halt, heart racing, convinced pale shapes stood along the path, 68 of them, only to blink and find nothing but fog. Back in the archive basement, a security camera's red light blinks once every few seconds. The lens faces box 914. Nothing moves, but viewers can almost imagine the lid trembling, trying to rise. A generation from now, historians will cut those padlocks, lift the top, and spill out truth that has waited 80 years. On screen, the white counter that has followed us from the first bell appears one last time. It does not tick. It does not move. Numbers glow in cold silence. Nuns missing. At 68. 68. The digits freeze like ice on glass. No rescue team, no midnight raid, no brave reporter has lowered the count. The box holds proof, but proof alone cannot bring people back. Fade to the bike trail at dawn. Sunlight burns the fog away, and an early rider glides past without fear. For a moment, everything feels normal. Just grass, birds, and the hum of tire on pavement. Yet the bell's echo tucks itself into the wind, promising the past is never buried for good. It only waits, sealed tight, until the day someone brave enough opens box 914 and listens. The screen fades up from black, and we are back inside the Nebraska State Archives basement, staring at the single grey carton labelled Box 914. The red tag that says, "Do not open before 2092, hangs like a stop sign made of string. You can almost feel the clock ticking in the quiet room. Some people would leave the box alone, saying rules are rules and history can wait. Others feel their hearts pound and think, open it now. Those sisters have waited long enough. Which side are you on? Imagine what could be sealed in that cardboard cave. Maybe there are hospital diaries covered in dust, but still clear as day inside. Maybe the blue ribbons from the straitjackets lie coiled like sleepy snakes, each one holding fingerprints that match the missing nuns. Maybe the hymn book with Psalm 88 falls open the second the lid lifts, showing Sister Veronica's hidden ledger pages in perfect shape. Cold facts, warm memories, the final answers. Everything could be inside, waiting for light after a century of dark. But there is the other thought too. Opening the box early might break a court order, anger families who want peace, or mess up future forensic tests. What if air, light, or wrong hands harm the fragile paper? Some historians say patience protects the truth. They argue that when 2092 comes, technology will be better, science will be stronger, and the public will be ready to face every awful detail without panic. So they would leave the locks closed, at least for now. We believe the decision should belong to everyone, not just lawyers or dusty committees. So here is our simple challenge. If you think box 914 should be opened early, type the words, "Open the wards," in the comments right now. Yes, it is that easy. 5 letters, a space, 3 more, and press send. Those words will light up our feed like tiny signal flares. Every comment is a vote for letting the truth breathe today instead of 60+ years from now. If you feel the box should stay sealed until the official date, type "Keep it locked" so your voice is counted too. We will tally every answer and share the results next episode. While you scroll down to type, remember the basic actions that keep dark history alive on this channel. Hit like, so the algorithm knows people care about lost voices. Share the link with a friend who loves spooky puzzles, creepy archives, or just a good fight for justice. And if you are new here, subscribe right now and ring that tiny bell so you never miss our next case. We dive into the stories most textbooks skip, and subscribing is how you pull up a chair for every reveal. Speaking of next time, we are already chasing another chilling lead. Word has reached us of an abandoned convent deep in the Blue Ridge Mountains, where a hidden diary hints at 13 sisters, 13 iron masks, and 13 unanswered prayers. Our team has requested drone footage, floor plans, and any living witness we can track. If you thought St. Dymphna's was disturbing, just wait until you see what the mountains kept secret. Subscribers will get the alert first, so make sure that bell is on. Before we roll credits, let's lock in what we learned tonight. We saw how hush money can stack stone gargoyles on a roof while real lives vanish below. We saw a brave archivist hide ledger pages in hymn books, paying with her life to leave clues for strangers she would never meet. We saw how freight invoices traced a line from Nebraska to Veracruz, proving evil rides railways and sea lanes when nobody looks. And we saw that a single cardboard box can hold enough truth to shake a whole century, if only someone dares lift the lid. History is not just dates and fancy speeches. It is also ribbons that cover bruises, bells that echo in fog, and counters on a screen freezing at Nuns missing 68 because nobody came back. The past does not change, but what we do with it can. A vote to open box 914 early is a vote for shining light sooner. A vote to keep it locked is a vote for careful respect and future science. Both choices come from wanting the best for those silenced sisters. So say your piece and own it. Last call. Type, open the wards if you need that lid lifted, or keep it locked if patients feel safer. Either way, smash that, like, share the mice, Terry, and hit subscribe. Our journey into the darkest nun stories is just beginning, and with you on board, the truth has no place left to hide.